It's always good to try to put your best work forward. However, so many women are letting perfectionism hold them back, and it is killing their business. It is killing their creativity. Well, hey there, podcast listeners. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 13 on the new podcast, which is She's Equipped with myself, Jennifer Allwood. Thanks for being here. I'm going to talk about how being scared is not an excuse. Do you know the number of women, first of all, that come into my coaching programs, women that send me DMs and tell me about how scared they are, as if, by the way, as if that is an excuse, not to do a thing. And so if you've been in my coaching for any amount of time, you've heard me say at least once or 100 times, fear does not release you from your calling, right? And so what happens a lot of times when women are nervous about launching a thing, writing the book, starting the Facebook page, offering the course or whatever, is a lot of times they just keep delaying. They just keep kicking the can down the field and they never actually start because they're letting what they call perfectionism hold them back. Now, listen, there are so many women who are wearing the badge of perfectionism as a badge of honor. And I want to cry like bullcrap on that. Okay. Because the fact that so many people are determined to get things perfect and are saying, well, I'm a perfectionist, as if that's a good thing. I'm telling you, it is killing off so many businesses. It is preventing momentum from happening. It is preventing any sort of forward progress from happening, because perfectionism is not a good thing at all. Women are literally stuck in trying to get things perfect. They're never going to be perfect. And they're doing it, with telling people that it's because they really just want, to put their best foot forward and stuff. And of course, that all sounds hunky dory, right? That all sounds fabulous. Oh, they want to, put something out with excellence. Okay. Well, I understand that. And that's always good. It's always good to try to put your best work forward. However, so many women are letting perfectionism hold them back, and it is killing their business. It is killing their creativity. And so I want to talk about that today. Okay. I was looking back in my phone and I found this picture that I'm going to have Easton, if you're watching me on YouTube, I'll have him put the picture on the podcast here on YouTube. But it's literally a picture of me doing a webinar in April of 2015. So over 10 years ago, I was doing webinars, and it was a webinar about this topic, about perfectionism. And the picture is so funny because, first of all, I titled the webinar Perfect Schmurfect. It's killing your creativity in your business. Literally, that's what I named it. Perfect Schmurfect. Okay, Schmurfect not even being a word, right? In addition, the picture of me is me wearing this coral colored top with white polka dots. Hopefully Easton's got the picture up here on the screen. And I had on mint green pants. So in retrospect, every time I see that picture, all I see is Minnie Mouse. It 100% looks like Minnie Mouse. So I've got the most ridiculous title, Perfect Schmurfect, along with the most ridiculous outfit, not on purpose. I thought I was being cool and I look like Minnie Mouse. But you guys, I had tons of people who signed up for that webinar. It was not a free webinar. Killed that webinar, did amazing, hopefully set some women free. And so I have been talking about the topic of perfectionism for literally over a decade. Okay, so let's talk about what perfectionism really is. So anytime you are tempted to say, oh, I'm a perfectionist, or I'm just trying to get it perfect, here's what I want you to know. Gary Vee says that perfectionism is basically insecurity with lipstick on. And if you remember nothing else, remember that. Insecurity with lipstick on. Because the truth is, perfectionism is actually it's a fear of rejection or a fear of abandonment in disguise. There's the fear of being judged, I don't want to put this out here until I get it perfect because people are going to think a certain thing. They're going to say a certain thing. But by the way, they do at any level, and they will at any level. Also, nobody is really thinking about us nearly as much as what we think they are. Okay. That's like a root of pride right there. So, but it's fear of judgment. It's fear of failure. It's fear of not being enough. And so perfectionism disguises itself as, oh, I just want it to be right. But what we're really operating out of is a spirit of I'm scared to be seen if this thing isn't perfect. So it's always a perfectionism is always like a self-defense mechanism, always. It's a way of protecting our feelings. It's a way of stalling our progress, even though we're not intending to do that. But when we're saying we want to get it perfect, it's always going to delay things, always. Okay. So I have a quote from Mel Robbins that I think is really, really good. It's perfectionism is you think that if you can get every single detail perfect, that there's no room for people to judge or criticize you. It makes you feel like you're in control when actually the opposite is true. Other people's opinions are what's actually controlling you. That is so good, friend. Did you hear that? You think that you can get every single detail perfect, and there's no room for people to judge or criticize you. It makes you feel like you're in control when actually the opposite is true. Other people's opinions are absolutely what's controlling you. That stings, doesn't it? One more thing I'm going to tell you a quote that I've read about perfectionism is this. You keep delaying the work that God gave you to do, and you're labeling it perfectionism, but it's not perfectionism, it's disobedience. Oof, and I know that that is rough to hear, but somebody probably needs to hear that today. You got to quit stalling and calling it perfectionism, okay? See, perfectionism keeps us in the it's not ready yet or I'm not ready yet trap. This is when we're still trying to tweak something, and by the way, like back, I can remember being an artist before I was ever a business coach. I would have a piece of furniture that I would need to paint for a client, and there was like a point where I would want to keep tweaking things and keep adding some more detail and keep like refining my art. And so that's one thing, but it's when we like delay the progress and we just keep kicking the can up the road. And it's me delaying, it was supposed to be done on a Friday and then the next week it's still not done. And then the next week, like that's perfectionism that's just killing things off. Okay. Because perfectionism always keeps you in like prep mode versus progress mode. You delay, selling a piece of furniture. You delay launching a program. You delay posting of your first reel on Instagram. You delay selling a product because you're hoping to avoid criticism. It makes you think, okay, there's always like another step or something else that you can do to improve on whatever it is that you're selling. And then this actually makes you feel like you have a valid excuse for not doing the thing and doing the things that you actually need to do. Okay. So perfectionism, there are so many lies that perfectionism will tell you. It tells you like it's not perfect, therefore it's not worth even sharing. People are going to notice everything that's wrong. People are going to judge you. People are going to notice every little flaw. By the way, again, people are not looking at you or what you're doing nearly that much. I'll launch when I'm ready, but I love how Andrew Lee always says, ready is a lie because the truth is you're never ready. You're never ready. I need more education. I need to know more than what I do right now. I need to learn a little more. I need to take a couple more classes. Those are all lies that perfectionism is actually telling us. And so, in terms of like looking at this from a biblical perspective, let me just say this. If God has asked you to launch the thing, start the thing, write the book, post the reel, or you feel as though this is what you're supposed to be doing, I need for you just to remember that God is not shocked by the state of your things. He is not shocked that things are not perfect. Like when God calls you, he fully knows the deal he's getting into. There's been many times I'm like, you sure, God? Because I'm a hot mess express over here, right? Like, and so just know that God knows you so intimately. He knows your propensity. He knows your, attention to detail. He knows that, whatever. He does not expect things to be perfect. That is never God's expectation, but he does expect obedience. My pastor always says that obedience is God's love language. And so just remember that, like, God's not shocked by you. He's not shocked by the state of your things. He's not like, oh gosh, I can't believe Jennifer again didn't get this thing perfect. Like, that's just not how God operates. You can go through scripture, a million different ways and see that, like the disciples, they were imperfect men. They were practically still boys. And yet Jesus chose them to lead, right? And so, excellence always honors God, but perfectionism always paralyzes you. And that's going to do the opposite of being obedient. It's going to just delay things, delay things, delay things. And so, in the last 12 or 13 years in the online space, I've literally launched over 100 things. I've done it solo back when I was doing Perfect Schmurfect. If I had had somebody on my team, they probably would have told me, hey, Jen, that's literally an awful title. And so, but that's not the case. I have launched so many times. And then I had a VA, then I had an assistant, then I had a project manager, then I had director of ops. Like, so I've launched a lot with a team also. And the truth is, we still don't always get it right the first time out. We often like will start a promotion and things will come up and be like, oh, didn't see that. We continue to make adjustments and changes as we go. There are times when people will say, hey, did you know that there's a spelling error on this page? Okay, we all miss that. No worries. That's an easy fix. There's times when we're changing the headlines on sales pages because it's not converting or it's not clear enough, or the first time around just doesn't feel like it was quite right. There are times we add more questions or testimonials, or we do an additional webinar because we don't feel like we've done a good enough job the first time around, maybe of explaining something. So we're constantly like adjusting and improving. But we would not know what needed adjustment or improvement if we didn't ever like launch in the first place. Does that make sense? Like without a shadow of a doubt, um, I believe that like the blessings in my business did not come from perfection. It came from action. And that's kind of how I roll. I try really hard not to overthink things. I try really hard to act quickly because there's that saying that time is money, and I don't love the saying, but the sentiment is so it's so accurate so often because God is very much a God of timing, and timing matters. And so we have to remember that when God's calling us to something, that there is a time element always involved. And perfectionism is always going to make you late. Perfectionism does not create results at all. Action always does. So my encouragement for you this week is to post the video. It's to launch the offer. It's to write chapter 1 of the book. It's to send the email. It's to send out the mass text. It's to go ahead and hit go on the website. Just any sort of action is going to create some sort of momentum. And that matters so much more than perfectionism. Let version 1 exist so that version 2 can like improve upon it. Okay. Done is always going to be better than perfect. Always. Progress always beats like paralysis. And by the way, paralysis and analysis paralysis, or the paralysis of analysis, or whatever that dumb saying is, same thing as perfectionism. It's all just insecurity with lipstick on. Okay. And so you can't improve what you are not brave enough to start. So my prayer for you this week is just that you would be courageous enough to stop like claiming to be a perfectionist, because it's not a badge of honor. It is not what you need as an entrepreneur. That you would just be okay. I've heard somebody say one time, just you got to get okay with putting out B- work, because you can improve on it after that. But it's the actual action that's going to create results in your business, not perfectionism. So love you so much, friends. If this was helpful for you, will you do me a favor and just share this podcast episode to 2 friends? I'm sure you know 2 people that maybe don't already listen to my podcast, who maybe would be interested in this topic. So send this to them. Love you so much. I'll see you on the next episode. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Two friends, Easton. Why did I ask for 2 friends and not 10? I don't know. It just seemed right.